Check one, 2, 3. Hey everybody, it's Michael Helms, also known as Michael the Sound Guy, and this is the Location Sound Podcast. You know, each episode we talk with location sound mixers, boom ops, and other industry pros about the various aspects of recording sound on location, whether it's for feature and independent films, TV commercials, interviews, any time where dialogue from actors is recorded. I started my career in the recording studios in New York City with some of the big artists back in the day, and later on projects for networks like HBO, Sci-Fi Channel, and the Cartoon Network. As time went by, I got out of the studio and began working in production sound. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out, thanks for joining us. All right, my guest today is a production sound mixer and boom op based out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Please welcome Levi Carter.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey Levi. Now when we're recording audio on location, what's in your audio kit? So give us a rundown of your mixer, your recorder, preferred mics, and everything in between.
So my current mixer is the Sound Devices MixPre-10T. Wireless, I've been using the Lectrosonics SRCs. And mics, typically the Sanken COS-11s, and overhead, the Sennheiser 416.
Now, do you use any kind of timecode boxes?
Yes, I use the Betso timecode. I have their slate camera hops, and I think it's called the Sync Box RF2.
What kind of bag do you put all that in?
I've tried the K-Tex, but I have landed on the Orca OR34.
What kind of batteries do you like?
So I'm still using the old school MP1s. I'm looking at getting the Audio Root Smart batteries, but, you know, with time.
Now, tell us a little bit about some of the typical audio jobs that you like to work on.
So typically I'm doing these corporate interviews and small, like, local commercials and stuff like that. It's pretty fun. It's really laid back. I'm just now starting to really get into the film side of the audio. So mostly just so far, just corporate commercials. Having a blast.
Now, when you're doing a corporate setup, what's kind of like your gear layout for something like that?
So typically I will set my bag on a table and just run an XLR to a C-stand with a boom pull on it overhead and whatnot. I either use my 416 or a Audio-Technica 4053B. And then I always also wire the talent if I can, just as a backup redundant system.
Now, do you also use a Comtech system for the producer?
I do, yes. I have the Comtech TX and currently only 2 receivers, but I'm typically renting more.
You know, I was doing a pharmaceutical company interview, and I was using Comtex to send the mix to Video Village, they were in another room behind a closed door. And, you know, I checked the audio feed to the Comtech, and it was good and in sync. But later in the day, you know, I was watching playback of some clips, and I noticed delay in the audio, and I actually said, hey, guys, I can fix that delay if you got, and they're like, no, everything's good. We're kind of used to it. I'm like, all right. But I think when it was playing back through their, you know, cabling into the other room, maybe it was a long cable run or something.
Maybe, yeah. I have found SDIs. Well, no, it's usually around 300 feet it starts cutting out and delaying and whatnot.
Now, I noticed I was checking out your Instagram and other projects, and you worked on a commercial for a community bank, and it was a new business opening. So tell us about that project.
Oh, so I shot that with Deer Run Media in Chattanooga, and it was this really fun, really small project we did for a bank out in, I think somewhere in Alabama area is where they're based out of. We filmed here in Chattanooga. That was before I even had my Betso timecode system. I was still using a Tentacle Sync E into the area mirror.
You started off with Tentacle Sync E, and now you've gone on to Betso?
Yes, I still keep my Tentacle for like DSLRs and small camera stuff. But when I'm shooting or when the production's using Arri, Reds, or larger cinema cameras, I'm using the Betso.
For some of our listeners that don't really know the difference, tell us a little bit about how the two compare.
So the Tentacle Sync E is phenomenal for when your production is using like DSLR and mirrorless cameras and has a mic built into it. So it records the timecode to one side of the track and scratch audio to the other track. And it's also incredibly small. It's like the size of a Zippo lighter. They're T90, rechargeable with Type-C, Bluetooth sync. They're really good. And then my Betso system, they use AA batteries. And so I have the PowerX rechargeable AA's that I use for those. And that way, when I put it on a camera and it stays with the camera department, they just change out the AA batteries, turn them on and off, syncs automatically. I never have to touch it once I hand them off to a camera department. Same thing with the slate. Betso has a slate in their ecosystem of sorts that I have fallen in love with. It's kind of compact on the side. It's pretty compact. Backlit LED display. It's very nice.
Okay. Now you jam sync from your mixer to the slate?
I have the S-Box 2RF in my audio bag, and that's my master clock. So I jam my recorder with that, and then that sends out over a wireless network to both of my on-camera transceivers, technically, and the slate. And the slate's really cool because if you have movie slate 8, you can control it.
Okay.
So you can send scene and take information and really whatever you want to the slate, and it'll show it when they open the sticks or after they close the sticks. Movie slate 8 is unfortunately iOS only.
And so you just do it right there, and then it'll sync it with that. That's great.
It's a wonderful system. I've fallen in love with it.
All right. Well, I was looking at another one of your projects. You worked on a 54-hour film festival not too long ago. So tell us about that project.
Oh, that was fun. That was the 54-hour film race up in Nashville. I did that with just a group of friends of mine. And I actually just finished another project with those guys yesterday afternoon. Well, okay, like 1 a.m. this morning. Oh man, that project was, for the story we came up with, was a superhero story, supervillain. And they gave us, I can't remember what the prop, I just remember like him walking in with it and be like, so we got to incorporate this. And so we end up, I think it was a fork or something. And we wanted to kind of not make it have like the main role, but not like where it's just in a bowl or something. So I think it was like sitting in someone's pocket during the entire film and something like that. It was just fun. A lot of shenanigans. We filmed in a house and it was a lot of fun.
When you got started doing sound, did you have any mentors along the way that kind of helped you out in the beginning?
So Chattanooga is really small in the film industry, like absolutely T90. There's 2 location audio guys, including myself, in the entire city. So I kind of asked him, his name's Keith Nolan. I asked him for advice and he kind of got me into the industry itself. But then Alan Williams on Sound Speeds and the Gotham Sound YouTube channel are really what got me started.
Now, you also do some camera work as well, so tell us how you got into that.
That's rather funny story. I was going to school for computer science and aerospace engineering, and one of the professors showed me a Sony FS7. I was like, ooh, shiny camera. I want to do this. And I changed my major. And so I started doing camera in high school and college. And then I do live event video engineering and LED wall still. But yeah, I saw a shiny camera and lens and I was like, I want to do that.
So video came first and then came sound?
Yes, I got tired of not being able to find a sound guy for my college class projects. And so I just started doing it myself and I fell in love.
That's good. I always encourage people, especially when you're starting out, to not just stick with one thing. Explore these other areas. And, there's a lot of sound people that do camera work. There's a lot of sound people that do some gaffing and grip work. And so it really, especially if you're in a part of the country that, once again, like you said, there's not a lot of sound or demand for a sound person. You sometimes have to you're still in production, but you're doing other things on set. So it's another way to make some additional income.
Yeah, I just finished gripping for a music video and then up in Nashville and immediately did the short film. And then I'm gripping on a few other projects coming up. So I work as a grip almost as much, if not more than a sound guy.
When you're wiring talent on set, what kind of expendables do you like to use?
So I probably use Joe's sticky stuff the most. The Haida mics, those are super, super handy. I can't recommend those enough. Viviana straps for transmitter packs. And I really like the Ursa sticky circles. They have the very sticky and then the normal sticky circles. I love those.
With some of the projects you've been working on, you said you just wrapped up some film projects. Are there any of those things you can talk about at this point?
Oh yeah, actually. The directors, they were basically telling us, please post, please share, like everything. So the music video was a really cool project. I did a little sound for it, so we'd have like location-specific audio to it, which was really cool. That was for an artist called Landon Alston up in Nashville, and that was a lot of fun. We shot on the Area Alexa Mini with Elite Anamorphics, so it looks gorgeous. I can't wait to share it. And then the short film, we also shot on the Area Alexa Mini from Contrast Visuals, and we used Cooke Pancro lenses, and it's going to look amazing as well, and hopefully sound just as amazing.
Okay. Now with the music video, what kind of ambiences were you getting for Nat Sound?
So we were in a historic orphanage from the early 1800s. 1820 something is when they opened, and the floors were a really unique style of creakiness. The doors sounded really old, and like everything about the place just sounded different. They had a old early 1930s piano in there that we recorded, and we recorded like him walking through. It was with a ballerina, so there was a lot of movement, basically recording the sound of the building where you were in to kind of add to the music along.
So what was the miking setup for that?
Just a single Sennheiser 416 on AK Tech boom pole, just kind of following him around. I didn't really know what to expect when I went into the project, so I wasn't really 100% prepared to mic a house, nor did I have any idea how to mic a house itself with a Steadicam operator walking around the place. So I just kind of did the best I could with the shotgun mic and a boom, and it sounded amazing.
Well, tell us a little bit about the miking setup you did for the film project.
So that was using two Lectrosonics. I have the SMV single battery wideband transmitters from Lectro with two Sanken COS-11s, and it was a horror film. We were filming in this really small house, so booming was really a challenge. The doors were really short, so following people through a doorway, you're lucky if you didn't smack them in the face or they didn't hit their head on the door frame. So booming was a bit of a challenge. So I had to rely a lot on wireless mics, a few plant mics under the bed. There's scenes where a creature emerged from under the bed, and she looked down underneath the bed to meet it. And so I hid plant mics in the bed frame to get its creaking and the sound of people moving underneath it and whatnot. I think where else did I hide a mic? Oh, I put a mic in a gorilla mask. That was interesting. You never know what you're going to be miking on a horror film.
Now, do you think there were any particular challenges you had with, screaming and loud SPL levels and things like that you had to deal with?
Yes. Yeah. I may have had ringing in my ear one or two times from not knowing that the yelling was about to happen. And then a blood-curdling scream was unleashed by an actress, and I couldn't get my headphones off fast enough. And then in the next take, I would adjust the gain and whatnot to bring it to more appropriate levels.
A lot of times people put the same mic on two tracks, and one track is turned, the preamp is down low and one's a little higher. Did you do anything like that?
Luckily, we didn't have to do that too often. I did have one situation where I wasn't able to record it to two tracks, so I just double mic'd the talent. Had one at a standard for a standard voice, and then one for the scream. But I got lucky. I'm really good friends with the director and the DP and everything. So they were very conscious about that. And a lot of the screens were their own separate take, and there's no audio before it. So all I had to do was worry about getting the level of the yell just right, and I would be fine. There was no very dynamic takes, really, where it went from a whisper to a scream.
All right. Now, we always have to ask, what was your worst on-set experience?
I did a commercial and I was woefully just dreaded, unprepared. I had just got back from a gig at like 3 hours before going out on this one. I felt really bad, maybe a little hungover from the gig before, and to the point where my headphones broke within the first 2 hours of the day. They just stopped working. And so I was using a pair of Apple earbuds to record with, and it worked fine. But in post, I noticed there was a lot I could not hear on set that I was hearing through my nice headphones at home.
Yeah, with the headphones, that's a perfect example of like you said, you missed a lot of things that you probably would have heard with your nicer headphones.
Yeah, I missed a lot of background noise that I should have cut out there on set, but I just couldn't hear it. So it sounded fine on set, and then it's like, oh, there's someone whispering in the background that I just completely missed.
Well, what has been your biggest technical challenge on set?
I was doing a feature. It was one of my first ever feature films. I still just had my Sony UWP wireless, which is what I started with, and the talent had to be no less than 100 feet away for a wide shot. And it was in the middle of a massive, old, rundown steel mill. So there was metal and concrete absolutely everywhere. And the whole crew had to be outside and way away. So I ended up hiding my audio bag in a manhole cutout inside the factory floor and just kind of like going back, listening to playback, adjusting the gain. And it was a absolute nightmare. Getting wireless in that building to work was just, it wasn't happening. With all the metal and the concrete, and trying to get wireless to go through all of that it was a nightmare.
Now, we always like to be prepared when we go to an audio gig, but did you ever forget any equipment?
I got to set one day without a boom pole. Had to run home and get that. That was luckily I was 2 hours early, so I had time. I thought I had left it in my car I had packed it the night before, and it was a little bitty, like 1.5 foot travel boom. So it wasn't like my K-Tech that's 5 feet fully collapsed. It was a very easy to misplace boom that I thought was in my Pelican case. Got to set, opened it up, it wasn't there. Had to run home and get a boom. Luckily, I wasn't too far away.
Now, if you could go back a few years and give yourself some advice, what would you tell yourself at this stage?
I would tell myself to go ahead and get started in sound my first year of college. That way I would have all those student projects and everything under my belt, because I didn't get into sound until like the last semester of college. And so I kind of wish I had started college in sound and maybe even taken some like post-production audio classes, studio classes, or something like that.
Now, is there any new equipment you're thinking about purchasing? Like, what's your next buy?
Oh, the next one's probably the Sound Devices Scorpio.
Really?
Yeah, just the preamps sound, from what I got to demo at True Audio up in Nashville, sounded incredible. The Bluetooth app was so nice to work with metadata entry. And I'm starting to do projects where I need more and more tracks, and which is what I want to do anyways, but it's more of a future proof than like a necessity for me. I'd rather be prepared for when I need it and already be used to it and have those features than run into a situation where I don't have it and I desperately need them.
That's a big purchase. It's loaded with features, that's for sure.
Yes, the price is a little hard, but at the same time, you get so many amazing features. I think it's worth the purchase if you want to get one recorder to do pretty much any job within reason.
Speaking of additional jobs, are there any other projects that you've worked on that you'd like to talk a little bit about? Maybe the miking setup you did?
I have a feature film that I worked on as the boom operator that should be releasing end of August 17th, I believe, called Be Still and Know. That was my first full-length feature film where I was on set every single day of the production, and I was able to work all the way through. I wasn't just day playing, which is what I've typically done on feature films. So that was really fun. We were using the old school Electro, what was it? The 400 series and the 200 series with the UM 400 body packs, I believe they're called. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm not too familiar with that series from Electro, but we were using those and a Zoom F8. That's the production that I fell in love with the COS-11s, actually. So the sound mixer I was working for had those. I was like, I need these. These sound great.
Now, was it a wireless boom?
No, we had a 50-foot and 100-foot XLR cable running to him, which was fun. There's one scene where we were running through the woods with a Steadicam.
Dragging a cable.
Yeah. We had a PA pulling cable and keeping me from tripping, and then I tripped over a branch anyways. So, that was fun.
Now, were you able to monitor the boom in any way?
Yes. We were using my Sony UWPs as a IFB system. So he was sending me a feed from that so he could talk to me and vice versa. Which worked really nice, actually. I liked using them for that.
How were you communicating back with the same Sony?
I had another Sony set on me, so I was wearing a transmitter and a receiver. I was wiring myself every morning and wearing a transmitter and receiver pack as well. So there was a two-way communication feed from him and I.
Was there anything specific that you learned on set that changed the way you do other things on other projects?
Yeah, that was a speaking of learning curve, that was going from being a bag mixer to just a boom op on that project was different because I was so used to being able to hear the wireless mics and whatnot along with the boom, and now I'm just able to hear boom, and I'm not wearing this massive bag, thankfully. It was different. It felt like I was learning how to boom all over again. I was actually mobile and I could really move and swing the boom really well. Being a dedicated boom op is something that I really respect from people who are. It taught me to really respect holding a boom for 12 hours a day. That was probably why I took away the most of it. Just how difficult of a job boom ops really have on these feature film sets. It was very hard, but a very rewarding challenge.
For people who haven't held a boom for 12 hours, tell us a little bit about, what's that experience like?
Pain. Just your arms feel like, we were doing a lot of outdoor stuff, so the boom was constantly at full extension, 19, 20 feet, whatever it is. And so it just felt like you would let the boom down and your arms would just fall down the moment you put in the boom box. It was very tiring. The booms aren't heavy. They're just very cumbersome. And I think the boom we were using itself weighed maybe half a pound. Maybe. I doubt that. But when it's fully extended, you have a lot of weight on one arm and you're pulling down with another arm and pushing up with another. And it's a very weird thing to do that takes getting used to. It's pretty different.
Do you have any tips on getting through the day with the big boom like that?
A K-Tech boom box. It will save you a lot. It can hold the boom. You can sit on it. You can stand on it. It is one of the most versatile items I have, especially when I'm working as just a boom op. I don't go anywhere without it. It allows me to take all sorts of breaks. It's great.
That's good. Tell us about the K-Tech boombox a little bit.
So it's made by K-Tech, and it's this wooden box. It's probably the size of an apple plus a half apple. It has a 3 to 4 inch hole drilled out in it, so you can probably put 2 or 3 booms in it. And it weighs probably around 13, 17 pounds, so it's not going to knock over if you put your booms in it. So it just keeps you from having to set them on the wall and just run the risk of someone coming by and knocking your boom down. It can really save your boom. It means you no longer have to just hold it when you're watching a rehearsal run or waiting on lighting to get set up. You can just set it, you can walk around set, and you know very well your boom is nice and safe.
Well, if some of our listeners wanted to get started in production sound, what would you recommend they do?
One, this podcast would probably be a really good start with the wide variety of people on it. Gotham Sound YouTube channel has amazing content. Matt Price has really good content. Sound Speeds, just watch and observe people who have been in the industry for years and people who really know the industry. And if you watch them and you can get to networking events, and if college isn't your thing, fair be, it's not your thing. Go to these networking events, make those connections. And that's kind of how I got started. I just went to places, saw people, and shook as many hands as I could.
Tips on getting your next job, what would you recommend?
I've just messaged people like, hey, do you need a sound guy for your next upcoming commercial or project? And they're like, actually, you know what? Yeah, we do. Yeah, and just started with that. Messaged several local production companies in your city who may be just starting out. Find a new production company that's, they're trying to find their feet. Jump in there, be their sound guy. And surely one of them will say yes.
Well, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Honestly, I use Instagram more than absolutely anything. I get more projects off Instagram than any other source. So if you want to get in touch, find me on Instagram at Leviathan Sound.
All right. Well, I want to say thanks to Levi Carter for being on the show today.
Thank you all for having me. It was a blast.
And a big thanks to all of our listeners out there. If you'd like us to discuss a particular topic, please send us an email at locationsoundpodcast@gmail.com. We would love for you to subscribe and leave us a comment. We're available on Apple Podcast, and for Android users, check out Google Podcast. Also, we're on Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, and on your favorite podcast app. Until next time, remember, sound is half the picture.